We are now live, everyone.
All right. Good evening and welcome to the January 27th, 2021 meeting of the Fairfax County Park Authority. I am Bill Bowie and I'd like to call this meeting to order. To conduct this meeting wholly electronically and to effectuate both the emergency procedures authorized by FOIA and the emergency ordinance, the Park Authority Board needs to make certain findings and determinations for the record, as we did in our first electronic meeting. During our meeting, if you wish to be recognized, please raise your hand. And when I recognize you, please state your name. This will ensure that you are recognized and the public knows who is speaking. If you intend to vote nay or abstain on any item, we will need to do a roll call on those votes. Because each member of this board is participating in this meeting from a separate location, we must verify that a quorum of the members is participating and that each member's voice is clear, audible, and at an appropriate volume for all of the other members to hear. Accordingly, I'm going to conduct a roll call and ask each board member participating in this meeting to state your name and the location from where you are participating. I ask that each of you pay close attention to ensure that you can hear everybody else. Following this roll call, we will vote to establish that every member can hear every other member's voice. And we will start the roll going alphabetically. Dr. Adu.
Abna Adu, joining from my residence in Lee District.
Dr. Carter.
Cynthia Jacobs Carter, participating from my home in Lee District.
Maggie Godbold.
Maggie Godbold, participating from my home in the Sully District.
Linwood Gorham.
Linwood Gorham, participating from my home in the Mount Vernon District.
Hackman.
Tim Hackman, participating from my residence in the Drainsville District.
Ron Kendall.
This is Ron Kendall, participating from my home in Mason District.
Faisal Khan. You're muted.
Faisal Khan at my residence in Providence District.
Thank you. Ken Quincy.
Ken Quincy, participating from my home in the Providence District.
Kyle Stone.
Kyle Stone, calling in from my residence in the Braddock District.
Michael Thompson.
Mike Thompson from my residence in the Springfield District.
Jim Zook. You're on mute also.
Jim Zook, participating from my home in the Springfield District.
You. And I'm Bill Bowie, participating from my residence in the Hunter Mill District. At this point, I will pass the virtual gavel to Vice Chairman Quincy so that I may be heard to make the requisite motion. I move that each member's voice may be adequately heard by each other member of this board.
Ken Quincy, you have heard the motion. Is there a second?
Mike Thompson, I second the motion.
Ken Quincy, it has been moved and seconded. Is there discussion? Seeing and hearing none, all those in favor of the motion signify by saying aye.
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 All those opposed say nay. That motion passes.
Thank you, sir. This is Bill Bowie. Second, having established that each member's voice may be heard by each other member, we must next establish the nature of the emergency that compels these emergency procedures. The fact that we are meeting electronically and what type of electronic communication is being used and how we have arranged for the public access to this meeting. Therefore, I move that the state of emergency caused by the COVID-19 pandemic makes it unsafe for this board to physically assemble and unsafe for the public to physically attend any such meeting, and that as such, FOIA's usual procedures, which require the physical assembly of this board and the physical presence of the public, cannot be implemented safely or practically. I further move that the board may conduct this meeting electronically through a dedicated video conference service. It is so moved.
Ken Quincy, you have heard the motion. Is there a second?
Tim Hackman, I second the motion.
Ken Quincy, is there discussion? Seeing and hearing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed say nay. Mr. Chairman, the motion passes.
This is Bill Bowie. Finally, it is next required that all the matters addressed on today's agenda must address the state of emergency itself or are statutorily required or necessary to continue operations and the discharge of this board's lawful purposes, duties, and responsibilities. It is so moved.
Ken Quincy, you have heard the motion. Is there a second?
This is Mike Thompson. I second the motion.
Ken Quincy, is there discussion? Seeing and hearing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed say nay. Mr. Chairman, the motion passes.
Thank you, Mr. Quincy. And with that, we can begin our meeting. Administrative item, countywide admin item number 1 is the adoption of the minutes of the January 13th, 2021 Park Authority Board meeting.
Ken Quincy, I second the motion.
Any discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed say nay. The motion carries. Countywide A2, admin 2, adoption of the minutes of the January 19th, 2021 Park Authority Board meeting.
Ken Quincy, I second the motion.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed say nay. Motion carries. Action item in Drainsville, Hunter Mills, Sully, Braddock, and in where else? I think that's all of them.
Providence.
Providence.
Thank you.
1, scope approval. The Northern Area Natural Resource Management Plan scope of work with the presentation. So at this point, we will turn it over to Mr. Burke.
Good evening, everyone. This is John Burke. I'm the branch manager for natural resources for Fairfax County Park Authority. Over the last few years, members of the team have been working hard to describe what natural resources are present on FCPA property and the development of the Western Area Natural Resources Management Plan. Many field days have been spent in parks assessing, studying, and mapping the varied and also natural communities, plants, and wildlife we have. Further, this year, significant effort has been put forth to summarize this information into the Western Area Natural Resources Management Plan document, which will become a guiding tool to address protection, restoration, and management actions in the western parks of Fairfax County. Tonight, Owen Williams, an ecologist in the Natural Resources Branch, will speak to you about this document as well as our plans for the coming years to study and develop a regional natural resource management plan for the parks in the northern part of the county. Owen has spent a significant amount of time writing and developing approaches for Fairfax County Park Authority to maintain strong stewardship values and protect our natural resources. So I will hand it over to Owen.
Hi, good evening. This is Owen Williams. Thanks for that introduction, John, and good evening to everybody. I'm going to be talking about the action item, the Natural Resources Management Plan for the Northern Area. And if, there we go, this presentation. Thank you. Okay, could I actually move to the next slide? All right, the Natural Resource Management Plan for the northern area of the county will be the second of 4 regional plans that we're going to try to do for the entire county to provide natural resource management plan to all the areas of the county, to all the parks in the county. This effort is based on recommendations in the agency-wide Natural Resource Management Plan that was updated in 2019. And it follows the concept of the regional master plan that was created for Sully Woodlands in 2009. And it applies that concept to natural resource management planning. The proposed funding for this project is out of the 2016 bond. And it'll directly inform ecological restoration and natural resource management efforts from the information that it uncovers. All right, could I please have the next slide? Okay, here's an image of the 4 planning areas of the county. The purple one at the top is the northern area. The area on the left in green is the western area, which John mentioned is a plan that we're just about to be finished with. Excuse me. And these planning regions were created by mapping the geological formations of the county and the watersheds that run on top of them. And those 2 factors are the common denominators for all the natural communities in the county. And so we could use those to create these 4 areas to do our natural resource management planning. And that's scientifically sound because those things have such strong influences on our natural communities that it makes sense to try to manage them together in the same plan. It turns out that we have about 6,000 acres of parkland in each of those regions, and it takes about 3 years to do a plan for an area that size. All right, could I please go to the next slide? Here's a map of the northern area and the parks that it contains. A lot of the work that'll go into this is, as John mentioned, field surveys and analysis and writing. We're going to work with the state zoological experts on looking for rare animals, including insects, bees, pollinators. We're going to be looking for rare reptiles, state and federally listed animals, bats, things like that. And we'll be developing management recommendations to help preserve, protect those things, and in some cases ecologically restore areas that have become really degraded and need that intervention to be brought back into health. All right, could I please have the next slide? Here's a map of the western area. Yep, there we go. So this plan started in 2018, and we're just about to be finished with it. You can see some of the accomplishments there listed. A couple of highlights, for example, as we were cataloging the plants that were occurring at parks in this area, there were actually 15 species of plants that we found that had never before been recorded in Fairfax County. And there were two of those records had actually never been recorded before in the state of Virginia. So we're really getting into fine level details and really discovering the resources that are out there and how special they are, and that our parks really are these important refugia for species. And if we go out and look for them and find them, we can determine how to manage and protect them, and they can be there for the benefit of the people of Fairfax County, for the natural heritage of the county, and in fact the state as a whole. A few examples of the types of recommendations that are going to be coming out of this plan that will be similar to things you could expect to see from the Northern Area Natural Resource Management Plan. One example is to restore 20 acres of a rare forest type that occurs at Confederate fortifications, which is down in the sort of Clifton area. Another example is to protect and manage populations of rare plants that we didn't know about before that occur at Elk Lick Preserve and Poplar Ford, and also to protect and manage rare species of turtle and bats that we found at Cub Run Stream Valley. There are restorations, ecological restorations in progress in the parks in this area. Poplar Ford, Elk Lick Preserve, Eleanor Lawrence Park, Frying Pan are some examples, and those projects have directly benefited from the information that we've gotten out of this plan. So even before the plan is completely finished, it's already having benefits to the management of our natural areas. Could I have the next slide, please? This is an example of, this image is an example of one of the data outputs that we can generate, and one of our primary products from this plan. This is a vegetation map, and the data can be displayed as a function of the health of the ecosystems as we map them. So in this example, the dark green areas are in good health, and the yellow and red areas are in poor health. And that helps us find out, which areas need the most help, and also which areas are in good shape that we can maintain and use as a blueprint when we try to go and repair the areas that are in bad health. So we hope to have this map available for all of the natural areas in the whole county once we're done with all 4 plans. Okay, could I have the next slide, please? The next few slides are lists of parks that will be covered in the Northern Area Natural Resource Management Plan, just sort of categorized on each slide by the district that they fall into. And, you know, you can see that the lion's share of them will be in Dranesville and Hunter Mill, but the others do also have some parks. And that's just sort of the way that the administrative boundaries of the districts line up with the geological and watershed boundaries that we used to divide the planning areas. So feel free to please advance the slides again. These lists are also available in the board package. So you can go ahead and advance all the way to the last slide. And I think that's about all I've got for the presentation, and I'd be happy to take questions.
Great, thank you. Ron?
I guess my question is, after the current surveys you've done identifying species, have you run across any either national or state threatened or endangered species that we might not have found before?
This is Owen Williams again. Yes, we have actually. One example is the northern long-eared bat, which is state threatened and federally threatened. It's actually listed on the federally threatened list. There's two other bats that we found that were also both state endangered, and the wood turtle is also state threatened. So yeah, so there's some really significant animals that we found.
That was going to be my question. What were the 6 species in the western area that were new that you found?
This is Owen again. Yes, absolutely. This so yeah, the tricolored bat, the little brown bat, the northern long-eared bat, the yellow-crowned night heron, the wood turtle, and a species of moth called the pink streak moth. I should also say that we're still waiting for the final report from the State Natural Heritage Program staff, the zoologists who did a lot of the surveys on the insects, and there may be other species to come.
Okay. I didn't see anybody taking notes. There will be a quiz after this to determine if you actually listen. Ken, Quincy.
How does the effect of invasive plant species fall into this program?
This is John Burke. I'll take this one. So we have a separate initiative that we engage in for mapping invasive species throughout the county. One element of this program where invasive species would come into play would be in the description of natural community types within different parts of Fairfax County, in this case, the western and northern parts. So significant invasive intrusion into otherwise high quality natural areas have their own separate category if they're associated with heavy disturbance and other human-made issues. So if we encounter a natural community which is extremely heavily disturbed to the point where it can barely be classified based on the vegetation on site, then it gets knocked into a separate category. And invasive plants, or the predominance of invasive plants, especially high numbers, could do that.
Okay, thank you.
Great. Anybody else? Anybody else have questions? Kyle?
Yeah, this is Kyle Stone, Braddock District. So, John, I mean, you know what I'm going to ask, but are we collecting information that we can use to kind of quantify the ecosystem services provided by our parkland?
Yeah, I think so. Over the 98 parks surveyed, I think the most granular thing we'll be collecting will be that the natural communities we find in these parks, and those detailed assessments of the vegetation communities and their approximate size, I think, will allow us to perform some calculations on ecosystem services. There are some assumptions regarding community biodiversity with the veg communities that may have to be made or quantified. But I think there's also potential to tie in what we're collecting here. You saw that map that Owen showed, with the high quality areas, low quality areas, with some of the coarser land cover data that the county provides and generates through their GIS efforts. I think this information could be run through something like the EPA's National Ecosystem Service classification system. But we'll have to do some digging through like the ecoservice models library provided by them to like identify and quantify the ecosystem goods and services, and to either find a specific model or modify a specific model using this information to get us that dollar amount. But I think that presents the best opportunity to use this data in that respect. There are certainly dollar estimates, tied to the maintenance, upkeep, and preservation of natural communities as well. And definitely a lot of studies tied to the services they provide. So, yes, the short answer is yes. I think the community assessments will be the way to go with that, and tying into those models.
And we can start doing that with the Western study now that we're about wrapped up there.
That's right.
Okay, perfect. Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Great. Any other questions? All right. Kyle?
Oh, yeah, I guess we're done. I would move approval.
And this is Maggie Godbold. I second the motion.
Is there any other discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
And nay, the motion carries. Thank you.
This is John Burke. Thank you.
Thank you. This is Bill Bowie. So on the chairman's matters, I'll try to be brief. Needless to say, I've been thinking about Frank Veda all day long. Frank joined the board in 2001. He and I served together for 12 years on the board, and he was always just a rock. He had a passion for parks. He had a knowledge of how parks went, how they operated, how they needed to be managed. And he was certainly a friend to the natural resource community. He loved Margaret's Gardens. He loved everything about Green Spring. And he was just a heck of a nice guy. He was a steady rock. He was just a dear friend, and he will be missed. His wife used to make these bourbon balls every year around Christmas time, and Frank would always, around the holidays, whether it was in the boardroom or wherever we were, he would always have a package of bourbon balls with him, and I will never ever forget that. And I was fortunate enough that I kept in touch with him and Judy, and I get a Christmas card from him all the time. And I just got one from him about 3 weeks ago, just before Christmas, and I had no idea he was sick. So he will definitely be missed, and but he left his mark on the world and on parks, and for that I appreciate Frank Veda. If you have not had an opportunity to see the equity report that the staff delivered, please take a look at that. We are at the very, very beginning, and we're not even at a baseline. We're just scratching the surface on what that report does. But at least this puts a stake in the ground, and we will build on that. The momentum is certainly building throughout the community, throughout the country, for this, and so I want to make sure that we take that report, we take it to heart, we understand it, and we have the opportunity to ask tough questions, make tough decisions, and have full and open discussions as they are needed, because it is a critical stage. Thanks, Kyle, for passing that along to the board. You and also had some comments by Ron. Again, this is all about the fairness and the availability of parks to the entire community. And, there's a lot of sentiment out there for some of the services that we offer that require revenue, and that making sure that we at least, if we're going to build these facilities, that they need to be affordable. And that's a two-edged sword. I mean, some of the things in that article were out of hand, but that's not the point. The point is, and very well taken by Marie, is that these things should be affordable. So I think we need to do a better job of promoting and educating the public on what the components of parks are. What part of the parks are provided by your tax dollars, your tax revenue, property taxes, and the contribution from the county, and to let people know that it's really, really important for them to understand that fluctuates, and that, trying to manage a park system at times from the public contribution standpoint is like trying to nail a piece of Jell-O to the wall. And so we really need to move forward in terms of trying to press our supervisors in trying to get a more definitive commitment from across the street in terms of stable funding going forward, so that we can provide these opportunities where those folks are less fortunate and don't have as big a chance. Staff has done a tremendous job this year. Again, kudos to the staff for all of the work they did in 2020. It's beyond comparison to anything else that we'll ever see in our lifetime. And earlier this afternoon, I just wanted to understand the comparison of park users with as many parks and as much time as we had the parks closed down. We still had almost 11.5 million users in 2020, which is phenomenal. Many, many parks were overrun. That 11.5 million compares to about 15.5 million that we had in 2019. So there was not that big of only being a 20-25% drop off in a year like that shows you just how important parks are to the community. And we should use those numbers in advocating for a more stable funding resource. And with that, I'll turn it over to Mr. Kincannon.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Well said, both related to the article, and appreciate you and the board support as we move forward and continue to move forward in our equity discussion that we've had over the last many years, and work with the county to take a larger role in providing the sponsorships and the funding that's going to be required to do the things that we have always wanted to do. As of December 30th, 2020, the Park Foundation donation revenue is $160,000 ahead of last year at the same time. So a 57% increase, and that's phenomenal given what we're dealing with related to the COVID. The overall Q1, Q2, quarter 1 and 2 revenue in FY20 was $283,000, and this year it stands at $445,000 as far as the donations. Reflects monetary donations that the Park Foundation has received, does not include any in-kind work or grants that have been paid directly to the Park Authority. So great work from Bobby and her team, as well as the board. Two of Golf Fairfax's, that's the Fairfax County Park Authority, renovated ranges were recognized as top 50 public ranges by Golf Range Magazine, publication of the Golf Association, Range Association of America, and the Professional Golfers Association. Oakmar Golf Complex in a newly renovated range was honored for the first time, while Berkeley Golf Center celebrated its third year running for their fully renovated facility. The GRAA considers the number of range visitors, new social celebrations, special events, marketing campaigns, and in this year, adaptation and operation during the pandemic. Noted in recognition for the facilities was the state-of-the-art facilities that our golf ranges offer, and amenities that allow for year-round play. The dedication to the growing the game through safe social distancing and physical distancing through the outdoor programs and all player levels, including juniors and women, and our community outreach programs and the golf program specific to the Oakmar open house efforts, cross promotion of the ranges throughout the county via libraries, farmers markets, and our rec centers. And then marketing campaigns, including email marketing and targeted paid social media campaigns to promote the range reopenings after a 2-month closure due to the pandemic. Park and play safety guidelines, and also to attract new golfers in the absence of Topgolf. Additionally, a Black Friday pass was promoted and resulted in an 85% increase in park sales for passes. The Laurel Hill Golf Center was ranked as number 10 best golf courses in the state of Virginia, according to the annual Golfer's Choice, compiled by the Golf Advisor Community Ratings. And Laurel Hill's recognition was based on a 4.6 out of 5 overall rating of 97.6%, which reviews the conditions, the value, the layout, and the friendliness, and the pace of play, as well as the amenities that are provided to the golfers. And of course, while the Park Authority's summer entertainment series in-person events were canceled this past year due to COVID-19 restrictions on large public gatherings, the show must go on, and concerts continued virtually in August. Virtual concerts were held Thursday through Sunday evenings from 7:30 and children's shows on Saturdays from 10 a.m. The concerts were live streamed and not recorded on the performer's Facebook Live page, and viewers enjoyed a diverse lineup of artists from different cultural backgrounds and musical influences. Performers include nationally and Grammy Award winners and regional artists, and such as DC's go-go favorite, the Junkyard Band, whose show was filmed on the ellipse behind the Government Center and live streamed to more than 2,000 viewers. In all, over 4,800 persons viewed the virtual concert last summer. So we want to thank John and his team for their great work and their success working with Judy and her team to make sure that happened. Also, collaborations with the Board of Supervisors, who prepared promotional videos in the Office of the County Attorney, Purchasing and Management, Channel 16, Promotional Services, Public Information Office, Park Foundation, the Cable Fund, Community Connections, and American Audio Video all work to make those concerts possible. Preliminary plans are now underway for a modified live season of concerts in the parks this next summer, with virtual concerts as a future option. And that is all I have, sir. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Kurt. All right. Let's go around. Mr. Quincy?
I would like to, this is Ken Quincy, I would like to second all the comments you made about Frank Veda, and I want to add one. From my own experience, Frank took an extra effort to guide newbies into the park board procedures and systems. I can speak personally about that. He took an extra effort to make sure that we were aware of what was going on, why it was going on, and how to go through the procedures. I would also like to add regarding the article you were mentioning that, as you say, there could be a misconception in the public about what we're talking about when we say we want to run the park authority like a business. We're not looking at bottom line, as was implied by the article. We're looking at management of funds, just as you mentioned, to attain our goals. And it's a balance of funding or running the park authority like a business and passion for parks. There's a balance there, and they fit together. That's all I have, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, Mr. Quincy. Dr. Carter?
Yes, I would like to echo what was said earlier about the staff for the year 2020. Kudos to them. They are par excellence, and much appreciation to them for all they do. Also, I wanted to mention that on Martin Luther King Day, Carolyn Banks spearheaded a cleanup of Banks Parks. And this was a day of service for a Girl Scouts troop that came and pitched in and did an excellent job in cleaning up the grounds, raking up leaves and things of that nature at Banks Park. And that's all I have. Thank you.
Thank you. Abena?
Yes, so a resident wanted me to pass along her appreciation to staff for how well they have been keeping the facilities safe. She has a 4-year-old who has been able to participate in a number of the classes, and she has really liked how things have been kept safe for her daughter and other participants. So thank you.
Thank you. Faisal?
All right, so I consider myself one of the lucky ones who got a chance to serve with Frank Veda in this board. And he was one of the nicest person I've worked with. I mean, he was always there to put whatever's going on, and he always showed up on the youth project. And remember that Luther Jackson project that we did, the clinic, he was there to support us. So it's a great loss. My deepest condolences to the family. And we are all saddened by this, but that's life. And with that, I'll pass.
Thank you. Jim Zook?
I'll pass, Mr. Chairman. Thank you.
Okay. Kyle?
Nothing for me. Thank you.
Linwood?
I'd just like to also thank Kyle for forwarding that article to us. It was real insightful, and Bill's observations and kind of summary of it at the beginning of the matters here, I really think was absolutely spot on. But I'll tell you my biggest takeaway from it, and it implied it in lots of different ways, is being equitable is not free. It takes effort from a government to provide equability. And the across the street comment, that you made, Bill, is really spot on. We've found ourselves in the last decades looking for ways to invest in things that are going to return us money, but we don't invest in the things that don't return us money as much. And that takes, along with the revenue fund stuff, which we put into things that are free, it does take support from across the street. And really, to do it right, we really need that steady funding that Bill talked about. And frankly, that's just the biggest thing to me out of that article, is that it takes money to be equitable, especially for a park system. I hope you all agree.
Thanks, Linwood, for those comments. We just wrapped up the chairman's committee on diversity and equity and made 20 recommendations last Friday, a week ago, or no, last Friday, to the chairman. And it could not be more clear. I mean, we spent, hundreds of hours 43 people for the last 4 months going through this stuff. And it's great to turn over all the rocks, but you hit the nail on the head. Equity comes with a dollar figure. And without that investment, you can't get there, because that's the only thing that really represents commitment to the ongoing support and services. So thank you again for that comment.
I would just like to say, I've talked before about my childhood memories and how the parks played a huge, huge role in them. And almost all of those activities that the park provided to me as a child were all free. The only one I can think of that cost any money at all was the 25 cents or 50 cents it took to ride the train at Burke Lake.
Right.
Everything else, all my memories of Frying Pan Park, of Lake Accotank, all those things, those were all free things.
Thank
you.
you.
Need to be able to provide that type of thing to everybody.
Maggie?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I want to thank you for the beautiful words that you said about Frank Veda. I was lucky enough to meet him before he retired from the park board, and he was just a joy to know. So we we are all going to miss him. And I also would like to thank Kyle for bringing that article to everybody's attention. It's a struggle we're all going to have for a long time to make the public understand where money comes from and understand that, you know, we have to contribute, and that includes taxes. Bad word. So it's a communications issue and an understanding issue, and it's something that I want to say I really will enjoy working with this board to do better. Thank you.
Thank you. Michael Thompson.
Thanks. First, I echo everybody else's comments about Frank. I too was lucky enough to serve with Frank. I think that the one thing that I would say about Frank is that he was somebody who always put others before himself, and always put this board ahead of even what he was thinking personally in some cases, because he was just so committed to the county and to what we were trying to do. And his voice was missed when he left, and the world is a little bit of a different and a less happy place today. I wanted to also just thank staff. We've been dealing with some issues at some various facilities in Springfield, and they've been very helpful, understanding some issues with pools and parks and things. And they continue to be very responsive in what are very difficult times, and what are times when we're approaching almost a year of COVID caused bizarreness. So I thank them not only for their help this month, but their enduring patience, both with us and all the users as we move forward. Thank you.
Thank you. Ron?
Well, just in brief on the article that everyone seems to be mentioning, it is part of the story. There is more to be told, both at the beginning and the end of this article, and the things that led up to it being written, and also the responses that staff had for inquiries over time. So I think we need to look at the real whole story, and some of that story probably hasn't been written yet. My comments earlier, accepting that there are perspective issues related to how we do the work we do, but we need to do the outreach that tells the story. That's the real truth. The other thing, I was granted the pleasure of sitting down with a scout pack on Sunday and talking about the things they were interested in. And the honest focus of that discussion was equity, and how we would sustain the parks and have urban development and make sure everything, climate change didn't take us over the brink. And these are scouts all the way from Life down to Weblos. They were enthused by the things I said, and they're going to be invigorated to do things with the park. Even their parents are on the call. So I had a very positive session, and that always balances out everything else that happens when you talk to residents and they're happy about what's going on around them in parks. My final thought is, I've been thinking about Frank ever since I heard the news. I'm going to miss him. He was my mentor. I'm still here because Frank got me to understand how the park board works and how you guys are a group of people who always consider service at the top of your minds. So prayers to Judy and the family, and that's it.
Thank you. Tim?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Tim Hackman. I was fortunate enough to be able to overlap for a few months with Frank at the end of his tenure, and my impression was that he always faithfully represented his Mason's constituents, but not only them. He represented well all the users of Fairfax County parks, and he did that in a constructive and gentlemanly manner. And he will be greatly missed. Beyond that, Mr. Chairman, I pass. Thank you.
Thank you. All right. So now we go on to the election of the 2021 Park Authority Board officers. The election of the officers was placed on the agenda and it was duly advertised. And at this point, I will turn it over to Faisal Khan, Chair of the 2021 Nominating Committee.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. So a copy of the proposed slate for the 2021 Park Authority Board officers has been distributed, and each member should have received a copy via email by the Director's Office. The following names have been placed in nomination. For the position of Chairman, Mr. William G. Bowie. For Vice Chairman, Mr. Ken Quincy. For the position of Secretary, Mr. Michael Thompson. For the Treasurer position, Mr. Timothy Hackman. Again, this is Faisal Khan again, and we'll start with the Chairman's position. The nominee for the office of the Chairman is William G. Bowie. Are there any other nominations from the floor? Seeing and hearing none, do I have the motion to close the nomination for Chairman?
This is Tim Hackman. I so move.
This is Mike Thompson. I second the motion.
All those in favor of William G. Bowie for Chairman, say aye. Opposed, say
Aye.
Aye.
The ayes have it. Chairman for the board for 2021 is William G. Bowie. So now we'll go to the Vice Chairman. Again, this is Faisal Khan. For the office of the Vice Chairman is Ken Quincy. Are there any other nominations from the floor? Seeing and hearing none, do I have the motion to close the nomination for Chairman?
This is Tim
Mike
Hackman.
Thompson.
This is Tim Hackman. I move that the nominations for Vice Chairman be closed.
This is Mike Thompson. I second the motion.
All in favor? All in favor? See for Vice Chairman. Aye.
Aye.
The ayes have it. The Vice Chairman of the board for 2021 is Mr. Ken Quincy. Again, this is Faisal Khan. The nominee for the office of the Secretary position is Mr. Michael Thompson. Are there any nominations from the floor? Seeing and hearing none, do I have the motion to close the nomination for the Secretary?
Ken Quincy, I move to close the nomination for Secretary.
This is Maggie Godbold. I second the motion.
All in favor of Michael Thompson for Secretary position, say aye. Opposed, no.
Aye.
Aye.
Ayes have it. The Secretary of the Board for 2021 is Michael Thompson. Again, the Faisal Khan, the nominee for the office of the Treasurer position is Mr. Timothy Hackman. Are there any nominations from the floor? Seeing and hearing none, do I have the motion from the floor?
This is Mike Thompson. I move to close nominations for the position of Treasurer.
Ken Quincy, I second the motion.
All those in favor of Timothy Hackman for Treasurer position, say aye. Opposed, say no.
Aye.
The ayes have it. The Treasurer for 2021 is Timothy Hackman. Again, this is Faisal Khan. So this is the final officers for the 2021. Chairman, Mr. William G. Bowie. Vice Chairman, Mr. Ken Quincy. Secretary, Mr. Michael Thompson. Treasurer, Mr. Timothy Hackman. Now, on behalf of the nomination committee, I congratulate the 2021 Fairfax County Park Authority board officers and thank each and every board member for their support during the nomination process. With that, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, sir. I appreciate it. Thanks everybody for your confidence. We certainly appreciate it, but we are a single team, and I'm just the guy that knows WebEx better than anybody else. So I do understand that position. All right, with that, we will now go into closed session.
This is Mike Thompson. I move the Park Authority Board recess and convene in closed session for discussion and consideration of matters enumerated in Virginia Code 2.2-3711 and listed in the agenda for the meeting as follows. Discussion or consideration of the acquisition of real property for a public purpose or the disposition of publicly held real property where discussion in an open meeting would adversely affect the bargaining position or negotiating strategy of the public body pursuant to Virginia Code 2.2-3711A3 and consultation with legal counsel and briefings by staff members or consultants pertaining to actual or probable litigation where such consultation and opening would adversely affect the negotiating or litigating posture of the public body pursuant to Virginia Code 2.2-3711A7 and discussion of personnel matter pursuant to Virginia Code 2.2-3711A1.
Ken Quincy, I second the motion.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
The motion, we are now in closed session for approximately 90 minutes.
We are out of closed session, everyone.
This is Mike Thompson. I move the Park Authority return to open session.
Ken Quincy, I second the motion.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed say nay. The motion carries.
This is Mike Thompson. I move the Park Authority Board certified to the best of each member's knowledge only business matters lawfully exempted from the open meeting requirements under 2.2-3712 and only such public business matters as were identified in the motion by which the closed meeting were heard, discussed, or considered in the meeting by the board.
Ken Quincy, I second the motion.
Aye.
Any opposed say nay. The motion carries. Okay, this is Bill Bowie. I'd like to make a motion to appoint Sarah Baldwin as the Park Authority Acting Executive Director effective January 30th, 2021. Ms. Baldwin will serve in the position until a permanent appointment is made.
Ken Quincy, I second the motion.
Any discussion? Those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed say nay. Motion carries. Thank you, Sarah, for stepping up. We really, really appreciate it.
Thank you. Thank you. I appreciate the opportunity.
And look forward.
Honored to lead this team.
Great. Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, folks, with that, have a great, great week. Be safe out there. And we'll talk to you soon. With that, we are adjourned.
Thank you, Kirk.
Thank you.
Aye.
See you guys.
Thank you all.
Thank you, Dawn.
You're welcome. Good night.
Good night.